Sonic, the heart of your system.
Hello, BRIONY here from Kit Guru, and in this review I'm going to be taking a look at the Razer Blade Pro 17 laptop. So the version that I reviewed has an i7-9750H. It also features an RTX 2070 and it is the Max Q version, and it's got 16GB of RAM as well. It does come with a pretty hefty price tag though. You're looking at nearly £2,700 for this model, but Razer does do a few variations, but all of them are going to be up there in price. They're not really for those of you that have are looking for a more budget conscious option. They're all rather expensive high-end laptops. However though, if you are someone that is lucky enough to have that much money to kind of splash out on a laptop, I think the Razer Blade Pro is actually a good option. The entire chassis of the Razer Blade is made out of CNC milled aluminium. Not only does this feel very solid and sturdy, but it also looks fabulous as well. For me, this laptop, the overall build quality just seems excellent. It looks great and also it feels great as well. The only slight niggle I had is that the matte surface is absolutely horrendous for fingerprints. As soon as you start putting your hands on it, as soon as you start touching it, you're going to leave kind of smears and marks all over it. For most people that won't really be a problem, but for me it was an annoyance because I'm trying to take close-up B-roll shots of the thing, and I found myself kind of wiping it every single time that I went near it to make sure it stayed looking nice and clean. Also, with the overall look, you do get a little bit of branding. So you've got the green RGB Razer logo on the lid, but it is a nice logo. It's kind of the green snake logo. It lights up, but it's quite subtle. You've also got the RGB Chroma keyboard, but in general, I think it is quite a subtle, sleek design. It doesn't particularly look like a gaming laptop. It won't really stand out if you take it into kind of an office or a working environment. So I do think it is quite a good kind of multitasker if you are going to be a professional user. Considering that this is a 17-inch laptop, it does actually have quite a small footprint. I think Razer have definitely worked on that on the Razer Blade over the previous models. The bezels on the screen are a lot smaller, and just the general size means that it's much more portable. It will fit into just kind of like your standard size backpack, and the charger as well is a reasonable size. The power brick is quite thin and it definitely makes it quite portable. The overall laptop is thin in size, so you can get it into a backpack and you'll have plenty of room left over if you want to take any books or clothes or anything with you. It depends what you're doing, but in general the overall size and shape makes it quite portable. The downside, however, it is still quite a heavy laptop. Razer have definitely reduced the weight compared to the previous models, but because it is made of a full kind of aluminium chassis, it does make it a little bit on the heavy side if you're going to be carrying it around all day. Even though the Razer Blade is quite thin, Razer have kept a good amount of connectivity options. So you have got a full-sized Ethernet port, and beside that you have a charger port that I find didn't get on my nerves at all. It's a really nice kind of thought out design. It sits right at the top there. You can insert the charger both the ways around, and it just sits quite nicely and doesn't get in the way at all of any of the other ports. You've also got two USB-A ports, and because the new naming scheme for USBs really gets on my nerves, I'm just going to say the speed. So they're 10GB ports. And then you've also got a USB-C port, and that's 10 gigabits per second as well. And then you've also got a combination microphone and audio jack. On the right hand side, you'll find a super fast kind of SD card reader. There's also another USB-A port, and that's 10 gigabits speed as well. There's also a Thunderbolt 3 port, which is really nice to see, but you would kind of expect it considering how much this laptop costs. You've got a full size HDMI port, and there's also a Kensington lock as well. We've taken a good look at the exterior of the Razer Blade, so I also want to show you what's going on inside of the laptop as well. It is actually a very easy laptop to get into. This lid here is attached on with 12 Torx screws, and then it simply lifts off very, very easily. So that's going to be great if you're looking at upgrading the laptop. It also has a few other features as well that make it easy to upgrade, but the first thing that you notice when you get into it is kind of like the large vapor chamber cooling system that helps with kind of the airflow and the cooling of the components components in the laptop. It's got these two large fans at the top here, and then two smaller fans at the bottom that are kind of underneath where the touchpad sits. To either side of the fans is where you'll find like the battery, and it is a reasonably sized battery for a laptop. It's about average. I've seen smaller, I've seen larger. But one thing I did think though is that maybe if Razer could find a way to cool the laptop without these couple of extra fans, they would have loads of space to put an even bigger battery in this laptop, which is obviously going to be better for improving the battery life. With the kind of upgradability, so you can see that the two RAM sticks here aren't soldered into place. They are simply in some very nice RAM slots, and you've got dual channel memory, so these are two 8GB sticks to make up the 16 gigs that the laptop comes with. So if you wanted to upgrade, you could take these sticks out and put in a couple of 16GB sticks, and you could have 32GB of memory if you wanted to. So Razer don't really provide many options when it comes to kind of purchasing the laptop, but they do make it easy for you to kind of upgrade it if you think you need more RAM, or also if you think you need more storage as well. So you've got another M.2 slot over here, so if you wanted to put in another NVMe drive, you could do if you wanted to kind of increase the storage, because the M.2 NVMe drive, it's a Samsung drive, and when I tested it, is a very, very fast drive. It's probably one of the fastest drives I've seen in a gaming laptop, so I was very impressed with that. I've seen a couple of like kind of those Intel NVMe drives. They're not quite as fast as the drive that's in this laptop, so it got some really good scores, but it's not very big. It's 512GB. So if you've got a lot of large files, or if you want to install a lot of games onto the Razer Blade, you might find that you run out of storage really kind of quickly. So that is the downside. It's a fast drive, but it's not very big, but they do provide another slot here, so you could sort of easily upgrade the storage if you needed to. And in general, this laptop has a big thumbs up for kind of the internals and how easy it is to get into and upgrade. The display is a pretty standard 1080p resolution, but I do think that it does look pretty good. It's IPS, it's got 144Hz refresh rate, 100% sRGB, and it also has a really nice kind of thin bezel design as well. However, at this price point, I would maybe expect something a little bit more special. I can't find the response time listed anywhere online, so it's not going to be something super fast, and I also did notice a little bit of ghosting as well. For a gaming laptop, you would want that kind of really fast response time. It isn't a 240Hz display. You can get laptops with 240Hz now for less money as well, so it would be really nice to see maybe a faster display. And also it just doesn't have like G-Sync technology. It does have NVIDIA Optimus, and normally you can't get the two together, but I did recently review an Asus GX502, which did manage to kind of implement the two technologies. You had to switch one off and the other one on, but that was really nice to see on the laptop. And for this price point, even though it is a really nice display, there's nothing wrong with the display. I think I'm just maybe looking for that little bit more. Razer did release a 4K 120Hz version of this laptop, and I can imagine that that display does look absolutely fantastic, but it does come in at a much higher price point. When it comes to the keyboard on this laptop, I do think it is quite nice to use and everything, but unfortunately it doesn't actually feature a numpad. It's the same keyboard as you would find on the 15-inch version of the laptop. It does have the two speakers that do take up extra space on the chassis, but I do think if Razer kind of rearranged it a bit, you could definitely fit a full-size keyboard on here. But like I said, it is nice to use. I find it very easy to get used to. All the keys are very well spaced, and the font is nice and clear and easy to read. You haven't got any crazy gamer font going on this laptop. I do like the RGB lighting. You've got plenty of customization. It does provide you that little bit of kind of personalization. So it's per key RGB. There's plenty of different effects to choose between. It also shines out at a good brightness as well. I like a little feature that it's got that if you press the function key, the top row lights up to kind of highlight where the multifunction keys are, but unfortunately the multifunction options don't light up. They are just kind of painted onto the keys, so that's something that makes them slightly more difficult to read if you're using the laptop in a dark environment. The touchpad on this laptop can be found in the usual place beneath the keyboard, and for me I found it a really nice touchpad to use. Has a very nice surface, is nice and responsive, has some very good satisfying clicks, and all the kind of gestures and things work as you would expect. For me though, there's one thing that I don't like about it, and it's something I thought I would never complain about on a laptop, is actually that the touchpad is too big. When I go to use it as I would normally, I find that because my hands are a little bit smaller, when I want to press the left click, my palm ends up resting on the touchpad, and then when I go to do a particular gesture, it makes it do some really funky stuff, and it's something that kept happening to me, and in the end I just worked out it was because my palm was resting on it. For most people it probably won't be a problem, but if you are someone that's got smaller hands, it's definitely something that I noticed and something I did found slightly annoying. You are essentially sacrificing a numpad on this laptop for the speakers, and thankfully I do think they are quite decent. They're nice and loud and clear, and they're also positioned well for a good listening experience when you are using the laptop. One thing I found though is that you do get a little bit of vibration if you crank the volume up too loud, but in general I think they are very usable and they'll be great for watching a movie or something on the laptop. As you can see, the webcam on this laptop unfortunately isn't really anything special. It's a little bit on the grainy side, but fortunately isn't too dark, and it is actually usable if you're going to be using it within a good light source. It's also situated at kind of the top of the screen where you'd expect a webcam to be, so you're not getting any of that horrible nostril view, and it is nice that this laptop does come with one, because I have seen a few gaming manufacturers dropping webcams recently, and I do think that they can come in handy. Also with this laptop, it does allow the implementation of Windows Hello. The software that the Razer Blade Pro 17 uses, unsurprisingly, is the Razer Synapse software. So I've got it open on the screen here. It's the typical black and green colours, and it works with kind of all of their products. So of course peripherals, laptops, and I guess in the future it'll also be working with the toaster as well. So you click on the device that you want to take a look at, and you've got different options, different tabs across the top. You can customize things like the fan speed, you can customize things like the performance profile, and you can also customize the lighting as well. So you can change the different kind of RGB effects and things going on the laptop, and it's nice and easy to use. You can pick it up very easily, and even though all the different menus are kind of a little bit spread out, I did find everything that I wanted to do was pretty straightforward and worked as expected. So it's pretty much everything you want from a piece of software. So now it's finally time to move on to the performance of the Razer Blade Pro 17, and I must say this is where this laptop really impressed me. I'm normally a little bit skeptical of thin gaming laptops because I think, how can they actually perform that well and cool everything and be so small at the same time? But this laptop actually did do very well. I'm not going to go over the kind of full details in the video because all the proper information is going to be over on the KitGuru website, and I don't want to bore you all with loads of graphs and numbers and things, so I will quickly kind of go over it in the video, but make sure to check out that full written review once you've kind of watched this, just to get the full information on everything I did when it comes to kind of the testing and things. So I'll start off with the battery life. So with this laptop I was really to be impressed. It has a 70.5 watt-hour battery, so that is about average when it comes to size, but it did get a very good score. So obviously Razer have done some smart things with kind of the software and the battery kind of power management and things, so it scored 2.5 hours. So that doesn't sound like a lot, but when it comes to a gaming laptop, that's actually pretty good. And when you're looking at a real world situation, that's probably going to translate to about 4 hours. So it's not going to last you all day, but it will last you enough for kind of a time in the library, or if you're going to be at a kind of busy meeting, or whether you want to take it on the train or something. It does make it kind of a multitasker where you can plug it in to get beast mode gaming performance, or you can unplug it and take it with you and kind of use it throughout the day to do a little bit of word processing and things, and it won't just die immediately when it's away from a power outlet. So all of my testing on the Razer Blade was conducted using the high performance profile. This isn't something that comes kind of automatically with the Razer Blade. So if you do happen to pick up one of these laptops, to get the best performance, make sure you do go into the Razer Synapse software and change it from the balance profile, go onto the custom tab, and then there's two sliders for CPU and GPU. I slided those both up to the high profile, and that's how you get the best performance out of the components that are inside. So I'll start off with kind of the noise from this laptop. When it's idle, even on the high performance mode, it is very quiet. It's almost silent. You can't really hear the fans at all. To be honest, I'm not even sure that they're spinning. But yeah, very quiet while it's idle or just doing kind of some basic tasks. When it comes to being under load, so that's while it's gaming or while you're doing any kind of intensive CPU rendering, something like that, that's when it's under its full load, full capacity, everything's working flat out. I took another reading, and even though the fan noise is definitely noticeable and it is quite loud. It's not too loud. For a gaming laptop, I've definitely heard laptops that are much louder than this one, and if you're going to be wearing a headset, then you're not going to have any problems at all. One thing I also like that Razer have implemented, and it's not something that I've spotted before on another laptop, they normally have kind of a silent profile, a balanced profile, a performance profile. The Razer Blade, you can actually select the fan speed, so for me, I think it saves you the hassle of kind of creating a fan curve and things like that, which you often do have the option to do. You can just set one particular fan speed and it will sit there. And if you're in like an environment where you really cannot have the fan spinning up, you can set it at a really low fan speed where it's practically silent, get on with doing your work and things and not worry that it's going to make a load of noise. You do sacrifice performance doing it that way, but it is a nice way of kind of ensuring that it's not going to get loud and noisy. So not only was the Razer Blade reasonably quiet, it also seems to cool really effectively as well. So I took some temperatures while I was doing sort of an AD64 test, and I do this just so I can stress the laptop to its maximum. It's kind of like a worst case scenario. I also took temperatures during gaming as well, and to me both of the temperatures were really acceptable. I didn't see the laptop get above 91 degrees, and that was only for a few seconds during AD64. So that just shows me that it does cool really effectively. Also, when it came to kind of the cooling down time, it cools down really quickly. The fans spin down very quickly. It goes back to being a quiet, cool laptop pretty much instantly as soon as you stop doing whatever you're doing that's kind of stressing it out. And I didn't notice any hotspots. So this laptop is made of full aluminium, which is obviously metal. Metal conducts heat quite easily, but there was no hotspots. I had it sort of on my lap and it would get warm, but you don't notice any areas that would kind of burn you around the keyboard or the touchpad and things, which I have had on other gaming laptops, but I had no problems with the Razer Blade. And for me, it does kind of blur the boundaries between a laptop and a desktop, because normally when it comes to a thin laptop you're looking at less performance and you're looking at kind of something hot and noisy as well, but it seems to cool really effectively, and it does definitely kind of blur the line to me and has definitely kind of impressed me with the cooling. Because the cooling is so good, that kind of translates into performance as well. So in the temperature graphs you can see that I've also put in the kind of boost clock speed as well, because when a laptop can cool effectively, those components can boost higher and therefore you get better performance from the laptop. So when it came to kind of the benchmarking things, I started off with Cinebench. In Cinebench R15 and R20, it got some really good scores that even beat out an i9 9980H equipped SCAR 3 laptop, which I just thought was like, how did it do that? But just because of that high boost clock speed. Also with this laptop, that kind of translates into the 3D Mark scores as well. So CPU is good and the GPU also did really well as well. So it's an RTX 2070 Max-Q equipped laptop, and Max-Q kind of means it's the slightly low-fat version, if you will, of the RTX 2070, but it actually beat out a lot of its competitors, even laptops that had RTX 2070s in them. And in the Port Royal benchmark, it got within touching distance of an RTX 2080 Max-Q equipped laptop. So there's no way to say it really apart from, wow, that's some really impressive scores considering the components in this. It just shows that really good cooling in a laptop can really make a difference when it comes to performance. Gaming performance is probably the most important test when it comes to a laptop, so I did Far Cry 5, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands, and also Rise of the Tomb Raider as well. And you can imagine that even on very high settings, it handled all of those games perfectly fine. It got some really good scores. It sat basically in second place compared to all the other laptops that KitGuru have tested. And yeah, it did really, really well. So that really good kind of cooling means a high boost clock speed, means good results in Cinebench and 3D Mark, which also equals good results when it comes to gaming as well. It means that it can take full advantage of that 144Hz display. None of those games even got close to 60 FPS, so you're definitely going to be using the display even if you're playing a demanding game. And if you're looking at playing less demanding games, something like CSGO for example, I would really like to see a 240Hz version of this laptop. I think it would really kind of benefit from that really, because a higher refresh rate, it just makes really nice smooth gameplay, and if you're playing less demanding games, you're definitely going to get above that 144Hz kind of performance. So it would be quite nice to see a better display, but overall gaming performance and general performance in this laptop is really, really good. So overall, the Razer Blade 17 Pro is a very expensive laptop. I do think the kind of quality and the performance can actually justify that price tag. Of course, you can get the same specifications for a lot less money, but I'm not sure you can get the same laptop. I don't think there's any laptop I've tested that comes close to this for me personally. It's definitely not perfect. It has quite a few things about it that I would personally improve or change. But in general, when it comes to performance, it really does blur the lines between having desktop performance in something that's actually thin, portable. It's not really lightweight, but you know, you get the idea. And just has good cooling and just good noise levels and things as well. I'm really quite impressed. I think it's a really nice piece of technology, and I think Razer in general have actually done a really good job. And if you're someone that's lucky enough that has actually enough money to splash on this laptop, that I'm really quite jealous of you, because I mean that Mercury White Edition is just everything. But yeah, in general, a very, very positive review. It has a few niggly things about it that I would change. Probably the price as well. I mean, it's very expensive. But yeah, let me know what you thought of this review. Let me think what you think of the Razer Blade 17 Pro. I mean, do you want that 4K version? I'm sure it looks absolutely amazing. Yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Make sure to leave us a comment. Let me know what you think. And also, if you could please hit that subscribe button, it really means a lot to us. It really helps us out here at Kit Guru. And if you hit that bell icon as well, you also know when we're posting lots of new lovely videos as well. Just to go on and on a little bit more, we also have a Discord that you can join, and we also have a Patreon as well if you want to support Kit Guru in other ways, and we even have a merch store as well. It's coming to winter here now in the UK. I'm rocking my Kit Guru hoodie instead of a t-shirt, but you can get one of your own as well if you head to the link in the description of the video.